Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing the topic that is investment of textbooks. So one of the person basically told that basically when the World Trade Center basically was hit, that time basically the Prime Minister was who basically. First basically see the time period basically May 16 to June basically 96 96. So he for 1 month also basically he was not the Prime Minister basically. And this was not the time period basically where the money was collected. The time period basically was 1992 or 91 basically. So one of the person, how you tracked basically, yeah, basically that basically money was collected from this match basically for World Trade Center hit only. That was also a question, no, basically, because in cricket pitch basically they don't do the advertising. They actually has done the advertising basically like that way basically that it was World Trade Center only basically. If you watch the entire cricket match, na basically, it was connecting that only basically. So one of the person told that your judgment basically is very dangerous thing basically. So one of the person told that to do this type of activity, Bollywood training is also required. 100% na basically, because this all acting basically they are doing in the cricket pitch basically that required the Bollywood training basically. So whatever things are real basically in front of the public that are totally wrong basically. So one of the person told the Kapil Dev basically. He's Kapil Dev basically the person who hit the World Cup basically. In front of the world basically he's Punjabi, right? But in really basically he might be Punjabi. Possibilities are very less basically because he person basically Sayajira Gaikwad in front of the world basically is Maharashtrian, but real basically is Marathi basically. Sorry, in front of the world basically is Marathi, but in real basically is Muslim basically. So his creation itself creation is like this. So he will create like this only the world basically. He will create the world like this only basically. And he has created world basically like this only. And he is basically ongoing since more than 30-40,000 year basically. So one of the person told that he basically plans 300 years after this bank basically would be 300 years basically 200 years this bank basically is going to rule. So these all things basically are normal thing basically. This person basically planned this person's future. For that basically I don't know what else basically he might have done. He might have done big plan basically. Because he is the mastermind basically of this. And mostly basically he might be connected with this here also basically. Because this was the verification basically. This was the verification of 2011 World Cup basically. That means this person is also 100% connected with this World Trade Center hit. And without his permission, that was not possible. That means he also connected with it. He also basically was into this only basically. So here basically one of the person wrote that this is the one thing basically which this person basically do. So he basically created the all freedom fighters groups, and he basically created them as a human clone. And he told that basically this person basically which he is he is a Mahatma Gandhi. So he basically his body basically might be containing Mahatma Gandhi history. So one of the person told that Mahatma Gandhi basically died 200 years before basically, right? 100-200 years before. 100-200 years before basically he might have died. So his body was human cloned. So in his body basically, in his blood basically, what story was created by this person basically? because each and every incident happens na, that is activating some blood cells. For example, this heated, right? This activated what? This was the activation basically. So this blood cells basically also might be inside some person basically, that this plan has to be done. So this plan basically has created as a one blood cells, and this person basically, when this got heated, that time basically this plan got heated. That means activation of the blood cells basically happened. In this USA basically, why they came? Because software industry is connected with USA. That's why basically. Otherwise basically USA is what required basically. What is the requirement of USA here? So one of the person told that yes here basically. And nowadays basically the group basically who are into the budgeting basically, if you want to do this type of activity, how many budget basically is going to take, they basically created software industry basically in Bangalore basically. So they basically are telling we don't require now USA basically. But do you think basically that is possible? Because the person basically who can do this everything basically, he also might have thought lots of things basically. Because if he will connect with the Microsoft basically, right? Assume that basically he basically copied the entire Microsoft. One person basically might be thinking up to that smartless level basically. So he copied the Microsoft, right? But Microsoft basically contains anything basically. Microsoft के अंदर कुछ है? Nothing basically is there ना. If condition, what is if condition that we know? For loop we know, while loop we know, user controls, that is text box, combo box, that also we know. That also basically we know that what is user control, each and everything basically as subscription. Even basically the Microsoft was not able to track that basically. Then how basically that is possible to track by the person who is going to copy the Microsoft to Bangalore basically. So I am 100% sure basically the investment basically which Bangalore has done, that will get in big waste. So the political person basically who is connected here Bangalore, he will be in big loss basically, because it might possible day or night basically that software company will say that Bare bhai, this text box basically we can't see, this combo box basically we can't see. Why? Because he is connected with Microsoft. He was connected with Microsoft and he created the copy of Microsoft. But Microsoft only basically don't know that user control basically was deriving from some other area basically. That is the 500, 600 cities power supply basically was getting, and that due to on the base of that basically the power supply, the text was getting display. So that Microsoft itself basically don't know. So if you are copying, for example, Microsoft created everything, documentation created, entire thing basically he taken. That person basically who copied entire Microsoft into the Bangalore. So source basically from where he is taking, that is only basically the wrong. Why? Because there is no like the text box only basically with Microsoft. Microsoft don't have if condition authority also basically. He can basically can implement if condition without that person permission basically. So you can just imagine the creation basically. If you copy the Microsoft also, then also basically there is no, it's worthless basically. So Bangalore basically has assumed that basically Bangalore might be thinking that we will do everything basically. In that basically they copied the entire Microsoft, and in Microsoft basically nothing basically. Assume that basically somebody want to copy SAP, but he will copy basically. But then it's also it's worth basically. Why? Because if condition permission only basically, if condition basically one SAP like big company basically can't display in the his product basically without any permission, then you can just imagine basically the software companies which are the base software companies which are created like Java, Python, C++, C, this all are basically don't have any authority only basically. If you will copy also, then basically what, it's a worthless basically. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this topic.